On this episode of Pantry Cooking, we'll be making poke rolls and rice balls, so let's get to it. First, you're going to need to cut up your vegetables. The vegetables I chose were cucumber, carrot, lettuce, and onions to make shoestring fried onions. I also going to include some avocado, and then fake salmon. And that's all you need to go inside of rice paper. Now I'm going to cut up my fake salmons. I got these at Loma Linda's Market. They are soy-based salmon wrapped in nori sheets. And I'm going to cut them into 1/2-inch thick pieces, just like I did the vegetables. Now to the salmon, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, one tablespoon of sesame oil, and 1 tablespoon of rice wine vinegar. And then I'm going to let it sit while I prepare the rest of my ingredients so that it is marinated. Now I'm going to cut my avocado into thinly sliced pieces. I used half of an avocado, so I've already previously cut half of this piece of avocado. And now I'm just cutting them into thinner pieces so that they fit better in the rice roll with the rest of my vegetables. Now to make the fried onions, I tossed onions in a cup of flour and a cup of cornstarch just so that they have some crisp to them. And now I'm frying them in some oil in a pan. Now I did make a mistake here where I moved around the onion skins a lot, and I would recommend you don't necessarily move them so that the flour doesn't come off. You can just let them sit and brown. They might cook together in pieces because I don't have a deep fryer or any way to fry them so that they are cooked all around separately, but they would still be crispy. Next, I will put them on a baking sheet and stick them in the toaster oven so that they continue to stay crispy while I prepare the rest of the meal. Now it's time to make the rice. What I do is I mixed cooked rice from a rice cooker that was cooked in 4 cups of water and 1 cup of rice so that it was extra glutinous, and I added some rice seasoning. I found that I needed to use a lot of rice seasoning to add flavor, so I would recommend adding some sesame oil or some rice vinegar to add more flavor to the rice. And this rice seasoning does have MSG, so I understand that could be some concern. So you can make your own rice seasoning with just adding some sesame seeds and maybe some other seasonings and some soy sauce. But I don't have an issue with rice seasoning and MSG. Now to make the rice balls, I added 2 tablespoons of rice to a plastic bag, and then I squish the rice ball and I twist the bag around the rice so that it forms a ball and it sticks together. I like to use a plastic bag because I can wash the plastic bag and reuse it. A lot of people use like plastic wrap, but I find that plastic wrap is difficult to wash and I don't really like to use single-use plastic. Now to make the rolls, I stick some rice paper in a plate of water. I recommend using a plate that has more of a ridge because the water was falling out or was splashing out of my plate. So dip the rice paper in some lukewarm water so that it softens up. And once you stick it down on the cutting board, it will still soften up, so don't wait till it to be completely malleable and flexible. It should be a little bit rigid because the water will soak in while it sits on the cutting board when you fill up the ingredients. So now lay down some lettuce. This one I made was quite large. Don't add as much stuff as I did. It'll be easier to wrap later. You will see when it is done that it doesn't exactly wrap the way I want it to. Then I added some carrots, some avocado, cucumber, and then the salmon. And those fried onions that I made, you can see that they got much crispier because I put them in the oven. And now here's my attempt to wrapping it. I really should have not put as much in it, but that is okay. I really like making rice paper rolls. I find that you can add a lot of vegetables and a lot of flavor, and they're just very easy to make. It could be intimidating, the wrapping part, but I find that rice rolls are a great meal. And then that's where you have it. I top it off with some copa mayo and some more fried onions. Thank you for watching.